Hi everyone, Pastor Jay here. Hey, I'm so sorry I couldn't be here this Sunday. We're filming here in a place called Santa Clarita at a movie set, a reenactment of the Galilean wedding. It's going to be coming out as a documentary movie known as Before the Wrath. It's a kind of a catchy name, and of course it's not so much about the timing of Christ's return as it is the why, which is how much he loves us and that he's the bridegroom and we're the bride as the church. But they're filming it, and as you can see behind me, you got extras and all kinds of props and things, and they're filming it as a documentary. Hopefully it'll be out around Christmas time. Editing takes a really, really long time, so I'm not sure if it's going to be this Christmas or maybe the next one. But here it is, The Best Day of Forever, the book that I wrote, Jesus, the Galilean Wedding and the End of the World, and it's now going to be called Before the Wrath. But here's the other thing I wanted to talk to you about this morning. You're probably seeing in the news a lot of stuff about Israel and Iran and wondering what's going on there. And I want to let you know that we're not quite up on Ezekiel 38 and 39 yet, but everything is something where God is just setting the chessboard, so to speak, for a tremendous game that's being played that's deadly serious about the end of the world and about the second coming of Christ, about the great tribulation and about the people that are going to have to go through it and the people that aren't. What's happening right now, remember Iran in the Bible is known as Persia. And Persia, of course, has always been somewhat of a problem to the people of Israel and to the Jewish people. Not always, but sometimes. And right now, it certainly is being that way. And but what's interesting is that Iran, who has always been such a threat to not only to Israel, but somewhat to the rest of the world and to America, is now actually sort of running scared. And this is a fascinating thing. And the question is why? Israel's being very bold. It's actually almost squaring off with Iran to say, go ahead and hit me. And Iran's not doing it. And it could. The Middle East could definitely erupt into a war that could turn into something like Ezekiel 38 and 39. If you don't know what I'm talking about, just go read it. Get your Bible out, turn to the book of Ezekiel, read 38 and 39. It's about a terrible war that happens. Some people think it's Armageddon, but the place names in there don't line up with the other description of Armageddon, so it sounds like a completely different conflict that probably happens at the beginning of the 7-year tribulation. And Persia is a big, big player in it, as well as is Turkey, believe it or not. Now, I just came back from Turkey, and I've told you the Turks are a marvelous people, but their administration is kind of going off the deep end, and that's unfortunate. But with Persia, or Iran, it's interesting that Israel is squaring off with this incredibly big country. It's about a third the size of the United States, maybe a little larger than that. It's got a very respectable army. So what's going on? Well, first of all, Iran has a lot of sanctions going against it. America has spearheaded that. President Trump has just basically disavowed the agreement that President Obama made with Iran about not proliferating nukes and all of that. And suddenly Israel steps up to the plate and is telling the world how Iran lied, and then making military incursions into Syria to Iranian bases that Iran had set up in order to harass and perhaps even attack Israel. And suddenly Israel's blowing them off the map, and Iran isn't doing anything. And the question is, why? You know, what's going on here? Is this prophecy or not? Well, it just shows you, the lesson is this, how things can change so quickly when God is doing what he wants to do. He'll take his time, and then suddenly he'll move something, push a button, and things start happening so rapidly. Iran's best friend was North Korea. North Korea had developed that nuclear program that you have heard so much about in the news. And of course, in their nuclear program, they were blasting all these bombs underground in very, very deep mine shafts in one part of North Korea. But what had happened very recently is that the shafts collapsed, so they're not able to do their testing underground anymore. More than that, the whole area has suddenly become very, very radioactive, and it's a big, big problem. Well, North Korea suddenly has lost their ability to roar, and so they decided to make nice with the West, America, China, other places, but that means cutting ties with Iran, because Iran's best friend was North Korea, and they were exchanging technology, nuclear technology, and all of these things. Iran's economy is absolutely in the tank right now. It's terrible. And North Korea, being their very best friend, is now backed away from them. Iran is feeling very, very isolated. Their economy is terrible, and they are essentially powerless at this point. They can do some substantial damage, but right now they don't dare do it because they're not in a powerful enough position to do that. So what's going to happen next? Well, it's anybody's guess. You look at Russia and you say, oh, Russia's pretty powerful, and they're also kind of Iran's friend. Not after last week. Netanyahu went and met with Putin, and they came to some sort of an agreement where Putin is backed away from Iran. Saudi Arabia, you'd think they would be a problem to Israel. Saudi Arabia is one of Israel's best friends in the Middle East, and they happen to get along quite well. They're tense neighbors, but they are neighbors, and they are acting very friendly to each other. Iran is a big, big enemy of Saudi Arabia and vice versa, and Saudi Arabia's always been afraid of them. So the enemy of my enemy is my friend. If Saudi Arabia is Israel's enemy, if Iran is Israel's enemy, then Saudi Arabia is Israel's friend. You got that? So you say, what a crazy mixed up part of the world. Absolutely it is. It's definitely a lot of things happening there. God is stirring the pot. Jesus is going to come back. When? I don't know. Now this whole movie that we're working on doesn't talk about the when, as I already said. It talks about the why. It's because he loves us so much. He is coming back, not just because he wants to end the world, not because he's trying to stir up trouble in the world. He's coming back for his bride. And that's again what this story is all about here. So I just wanted to let you know, Bride of Christ, you are in very, very good hands with your great bridegroom who's coming back for you someday. And the stirrings that you're seeing in the world right now are a direct result of God doing exactly what he wants to do to bring his son's bride home. And that's you. That's tremendous news. Can't wait to see when this movie's done what it's going to be like. We'll show it at the church when it's finally finished. But in the meantime, keep looking up, because the day of our redemption draws near. Jesus is coming, and watch the news and you'll see exactly all the crazy stuff going on, and you'll say, man, it's got to be close. I think it is close, but we don't know when. But I'm so glad that God is making plans, and he's going to do it. God bless you guys. Have a great Sunday. Enjoy Pastor Vic's message, and we'll see you next week.